to another edition of Tom's Tips, the express version of Mental Health Matters. This is Tom Duff, Executive Director, St. Louis Counseling. Check us out at stlouiscounseling.org. So this version of Tom's Tips is about the summer transition from school. So this is that time of year when we realize school's ending. What's going to happen? And parents are starting to scramble. Hopefully you're starting to scramble, because what I'm going to talk about today is planning for that transition. Because we know kids transition sometimes okay, but a lot of times it's a process for them. And if you talk to any parents, you realize that summer can be fun, but also a very stressful time as well too. So today we're going to talk about a few tips for parents. So number one, schedule ahead of time everything you need to do as school is ending and summer is beginning. And now, heck, now might be too late even. Who knows? But don't stress out over that. But the bottom line is that you need to figure out what needs to be scheduled for the summer. Because is it childcare? Is there certain camps you want your kids to get into? Is there certain activities you want them to do? We know ahead of time that different organizations throughout the St. Louis region here is putting out the notices, and they also have deadlines. So that's why it's important to schedule things ahead of time. And what that does for us is gives us a proactive way of handling stress. Because we know it's coming. We know that when the kids are at home during the summertime, it can get a little hectic from a lot of different levels. So the more proactive you are, the more you can get ahead of the game in that sense. Number two tip for parents when it comes to the school to summer transition is to recognize that this is a transition for everybody. Kids are excited to get out of school. I'm done with school, but at the same time, they may miss their friends. There's a different daily schedule for everybody involved. The parents have this combination of like, hey, I'm actually happy. I get to be around my kids more. They might be more relaxed for school. But the other thing that sets in is, what am I going to do with these kids for this whole summer? What's going to happen? So this is a transition. And so you have to recognize as the parent, the one in charge, right, that you're going through some different stages with your schedule, and the kids are actually feeling the same thing. And a lot of times we know of kids, the more structure and the more organization, the better off they are. And so that's why it's important to be ahead of the game and get some of these schedules going, but to recognize. So my second tip here is to recognize that this is a transition, and transitions can be stressful. So just recognizing it is very important, and that the kids may be stressful and you may be stressful all because of that. My third tip is communication. All right. First of all, always communication is one of the best things you can do for any relationship and any family, right? But communication and labeling stress is important. So helping the kids recognize the different feelings they may be going through, that boredom, all right? They may be feeling frustrated, so they might just be labeling everything as, I'm frustrated, or I'm irritated with my siblings, my brother, my sister. I'm irritated with you as a parent trying to tell me what to do. But help them identify what it really is. Well, you're not doing anything all day long. You don't have a plan when you wake up. That you're actually bored. That's where your frustration comes from. And and every kid is different, and we all have to recognize that. But labeling that the stress is present is really important, because it helps our kids identify what's going on inside of them. And as the parents, we're the ones who have to take control of that as well too. And also when it comes to communication, the communication between the parents or the people that are staying at home with the child, or the daycare or the child care, or if one child is in charge of the other children because one is older and they're babysitting throughout the summer. Those communication components are so vital in that sense. So that was my third tip, is to recognize that communication is important and label it for what it is, which means also peeling back those layers and looking at what's really going on. Number 4, the school to summer transition tips for parents is, hey, come up with a summer toolkit for fun, all right? So it comes back to planning. But figure out what your kids are interested in, and you might be not sending them to any camps or anything like that, but what would be things that you need or make sure you have present inside the house that can relate to fun for the kids and get rid of boredom. I think that's one of the big issues of summertime is kids will get bored after a while if they're not presented with activities and things to do. So maybe it's just a one of those a Rubbermaid container. I was thinking Tupperware, but I guess it's Rubbermaid containers that you throw some frisbees and some balls in, or arts and crafts, whatever is your interest of your kids, but you prep that ahead of time and they have something to choose from as you go. Number 5 of my school to summer transition tips for parents is give some incentives. Give some incentives for the kids to do good throughout the summer. Maybe you want them to just be nice to each other when you have multiple kids at home, right? And you want to have less frustration. Give them something to work on. Give them some projects to do around the house. There is nothing wrong with kids doing chores. All right. And so sometimes, we want to let our kids relax after a long school year and, trying really hard. But there's nothing wrong with maintaining their responsibilities because, one, it teaches stuff for later in life, but also giving them something to work for in the summer because kids love incentives, no matter what age it is. So sometimes it's money and sometimes it's verbal recognition and physical interaction with the kids and just spending time with them. But the bottom line is give them something to work for. Set that goal for them. So that was my Tom's tips for this week, and hopefully you will have a happy summer and enjoy spending time with the family. So until next time, this is Tom Duff, St. Louis Counseling. See ya.
This has been Mental Health Matters with Tom Duff of St. Louis Counseling Services. Check out stlouiscounseling.org for more information.